For our emerging infectious disease project, we did hantavirus.
Some background information on hantavirus. In May of 1993, an outbreak of an unexplained pulmonary illness occurred in the southwestern United States. A young, physically fit Navajo man suffering from shortness of breath was rushed to a hospital in New Mexico and died very rapidly. While reviewing the results of the case, medical personnel discovered that the young man's fiancée had died a few days before after showing similar symptoms, a piece of information that proved key to discovering the disease. As Dr. James Cheek of the Indian Health Service noted, I think if it hadn't been for that initial pair of people that became sick within a week of each other, we never would have discovered the illness at all. The CDC, the state health departments of New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah, the Indian Health Service, the Navajo Nation, and the University of New Mexico all joined together to confront the outbreak and discover hantavirus.
With the hantavirus infection, large outbreaks have been rare and have usually been associated with human disturbance. As of January of 2017, a total of 728 cases of hantavirus infection have been reported in the United States. Hantavirus is also known to be located in North, Central, and South America. It is primarily found in the urine, saliva, and droppings of infected deer mice, which prefer woodlands and deserts, so it's found throughout North America. Cotton rats, which inhabit overgrown areas with shrubs and tall grasses, so it is found in the southeastern United States and down into Central and South America. The white-footed mice, which prefer wooded and brushy areas, so it is primarily found throughout southern New England, the mid-Atlantic, southern states, Midwest and West, and Mexico. And the rice rats, which prefer marshy areas and is semi-aquatic, so it is primarily found in the southeastern United States and Central America. As you can see on the maps to the left, most of the hantavirus infections have occurred in the southwestern United States and down into South America.
Some of the causes and transmissions of hantavirus. Hantavirus is caused by coming in contact with virus-containing particles from rodent urine, saliva, or droppings, and is spread when these particles are stirred into the air by actions that raise dust, like sweeping and vacuuming. In Chile and Argentina, rare cases of person-to-person transmission have occurred among close contacts of a person who is ill with a type of hantavirus called Andes virus. No cases of HPS have been reported in the United States in which the virus was transmitted from one person to another.
The symptoms and nature of the illness. Symptoms may develop between 1 to 8 weeks after exposure to fresh urine droppings or saliva of infected rodents. Hantavirus usually leads to a disease commonly known as hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, or HPS. The early symptoms of hantavirus include fatigue, fever, muscle aches, headaches, dizziness, chills, and abdominal pain, which include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. These early symptoms also make it so this hantavirus is usually confused with influenza. The late symptoms of hantavirus, which occur 4 to 10 days after the initial phase of illness, include coughing, extreme shortness of breath, trouble breathing, and the sensation of, as one survivor put it, quote, a tight band around my chest and a pillow over my face, as the lungs fill with fluid.
Prognosis and treatment. The mortality rate of hantavirus is 38%. There's no specific treatment, cure, or vaccine for the hantavirus infection, which makes it especially dangerous. However, the prognosis improves with early recognition, immediate hospitalization, and adequate support for breathing. Some helpful treatments include supportive therapy and blood oxygenation. Supportive therapy involves intubation and medical ventilation to help manage the fluid in the lungs and support breathing. For blood oxygenation, in severe cases of pulmonary distress, you'll need a method called extracorporeal membrane oxygenation to help ensure you retain a sufficient supply of oxygen. This involves continuously pumping your blood through a machine that removes carbon dioxide and adds oxygen.
The reason that hantavirus is considered an emerging infectious disease is because since it was discovered in 1993, its severity and incidence have increased. Hantavirus has specifically increased in South America, where it has begun to transmit between infected individuals and healthy individuals. The mortality rate in South America has also been seen to rise in recent years since this adaptation. More recently, cases of HPS stemming from related hantaviruses have been documented in Argentina, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Paraguay, and Uruguay, making HPS a pan-hemispheric disease.
Some interesting facts about hantavirus. Of persons ill with HBS, 63% have been male, while only 37% have been female. Hantavirus infection can strike anyone. However, whites currently account for 78% of all cases, American Indians account for about 18% of all cases, and African Americans and Asians each account for 1% of the cases. Other early cases of HPS have been discovered by examining samples of tissue belonging to people who had died of unexplained adult respiratory distress syndrome. By this method, the earliest known case of HPS that has been confirmed was the case of a 38-year-old Utah man in 1959. Unfortunately, the first victims of the outbreak were Navajos. News reports focused on this fact, and the misperception grew that the unknown disease was somehow linked to Navajos. As a consequence, Navajos found themselves at the center of intense media attention and the objects of some people's fears.
This is our Works Cited page. Thank you for listening.